I'm Nadira Tudor, and this is The Fall of Kabul, a soldier's story. Was it worth it? So I want to go back to the moment that you found out that Kabul had fallen, the fall of Kabul. Where were you and what went through your mind at that moment?
Wow, that was here. It was here in shape. I think at that moment, I felt really kind of depressed about it, if I'm being honest. I felt like at that moment, I was hoping against all get out that they were going to be able to withstand the Taliban, that they were going to be able to withstand everything that was being put on them and be able to pull together, mainly because I worked with those guys for a year and I really felt like they were some of the most resilient people I had ever met. And it was disheartening, it was depressing. It was depressing. Mainly because I think for me, I looked back at my experience in Afghanistan fondly. It was difficult to be away from my family. But at the same time, I felt like what I was doing mattered. You know, I felt like there was something about it was overused, the winning hearts and minds and all that crap. But at that time, I really felt like that it mattered to me to leave things better than where I found them when I got there. And when I got there, so much of my job was working with the Afghans on a daily basis. I saw them evolve and become more efficient in their own way. And so that was years ago. I was there in 2011. I think since then I had hoped that everything that I had worked on was going to continue and that they would continue to develop and they would continue to. So when it all just stopped and it all fell, at that moment I thought, well, part of it was selfish, I guess. Part of it was I thought, you know, what was it all worth? I mean, why did I go there and spend a whole year trying to help them out? Part of me was upset at them, kind of for not withstanding the onslaught and just standing their ground. And then part of me was mad because I really felt like that we kind of abandoned them a little bit. But then I would always counter that last thought by thinking, yeah, but they had plenty of years to kind of pull it together. So I had a lot of emotions, I guess. Ultimately, it was depressive. I didn't want to see them as failing. I wanted to feel like they were going to succeed at the end. And then all that time that we spent, you know, really as a coalition, I mean, it was a lot of different countries, not just the U.S., mattered. Like it led someplace. It was going to result in something that would be better than it all started with. And so yeah, I was sad, like everybody, and a bit mad.
And you remember the news that day? It was minute by minute, hour by hour.
Yeah.
Total confusion. You must have had visualizations over the course of that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, days later, when people were clinging to planes and falling off and everything, I could find myself being back at the airport. Because when I was in Afghanistan, I spent a whole year at the Kabul airport. I mean, I was at that time called the ISAF Joint Command, IJC. So that was sort of the 3-star command in 2011. And so I was at the airfield all the time. I flew out of that airfield on the civilian side a couple of times. And so for me, I had it all in my head. I used to drive around the airstrip to go from base to base. And the Afghan components that I worked with and the Afghan security forces were on the other side of the airbase, so I was always there. So for me, I remembered the sights, the sounds, the smells, the crowds. On a good day, Kabul was always a little crazy anyway. But I think for me, it was easy to put myself there, and that was, a long time ago. So yeah, it was just very difficult. It was difficult to see the chaos and feel like I had some role in making it not chaotic years before, and kind of looking back on it now, and back in 2022. I mean, for me, or 21, for me, it was hard to not feel like I could have done something about it, but there was really nothing to do about it. And in the aftermath, there were so many people that were reaching out to people in NATO. My colleagues in NATO up in Brussels, but then here too, asking for help and trying to get out of there, asking for help and trying to evacuate. And it was just kind of chaotic. So I feel like for a military person, chaos is not your friend. You know, you want to feel like that things are organized, and that was not organized. It was just chaotic.
I'm going to take you back now to when you first joined the military. Was it part of your family history? Why did you choose to join it?
Okay.
You know, what attracted you about the military? And the reason why I'm asking that is I want to understand what your journey's been and how you feel post-Afghanistan. So let's go back.
Okay. I never really thought I would join the military. I came from a military family, grandparents, uncles, my father. I was kind of anti-military for the longest time. Like I was a musician, I was an artist, and in 1989-90, with the Persian Gulf and Desert Shield and Storm, I went to protest. You know, so I was just not a military person. I was never going to be. So it's funny to me, 27 years later, that I find myself a career military person. I think what I was attracted to initially was the idea that I had fond memories of my grandfather, who would talk about the camaraderie, the teamwork. And a lot of the things that I admired about my music work was all the collaboration work I did. I used to do a lot of accompanying. I worked in ensembles, I worked with singers and opera and musical theater, and I loved the whole idea of putting everything together and putting the pieces together and then having a performance and then being able to kind of look back at it later on and enjoy the process. And so I think the military for me initially was more of I need a paycheck. I need some way to pay the bills. And music was not working because I just couldn't teach very well. And as a musician, you have to be able to teach. So I looked at the military initially as well, I mean, I think I could dig